Hello, everyone. My name is Stephanie, Divine Cosmic Empress, and I'm actually here today to share with you um, hmm, the reclamation of a high priestess. And this is the part two to it. And so in here, I'm going to be discussing my own personal experience with my first shamanic journey, or what you can also call a past life regression. And so if you haven't already, check out the first post that I did a couple weeks ago where I shared about my transformational story, where I grew up with a mother who wasn't very maternal. I grew up where she really put me down a lot in terms of the way I looked like, everything. And I realized this later on too, as I've been working with these aspects of myself, that I was taught. And as you're a kid and the first 7 years of your life, that's like when you start forming your beliefs, right? And that gets anchored in your root chakra. And that's what you end up holding, that relationships, or in order to be accepted, in order to be validated, to be loved, it's like it's based off of how I look, right? And what it is that I can give to somebody else. And so my first shamanic journey, that was when I had started on my health coach mentorship. I was working with somebody, and her name's Alyssa. I'll tag her here. And she works a lot with clinical nutrition, as well as, at the time, I realized too that when I was doing one-on-one work with clients as a nutrition health coach, why was it that my clients would just get stuck, and they know what the plan was, they knew what it was, but they would either stick to it for a couple of weeks and then fall off, or they would just not stick to it. And then it's like, okay, it's obviously not a physical thing. There's something going on. I just didn't know what it was, right? But eventually, through her and my mentorship with her, and then what we figured out, it's okay, people hold emotions and store energy, whether it's in the physical body or stored energy in the mind. In the shamanic perspective, whenever you had a traumatic experience in your life, that could be a physical trauma, emotional, mental trauma, any point, and the nervous system, the aspect of you in that moment, isn't able to process it, to transmute and take an action that's an alignment for you in terms of well, at that moment in your life, you're going to do the thing that's what you feel, the body, what your mind feels is the best choice for you in order to survive, whether that's to run, to fight, to flee, or sometimes you're just physically unable to move, right? And so what happens from a shamanic perspective is you end up losing a part of yourself, or what we call a soul piece, a fragment, an aspect of you. You could think of it like a puzzle. You are this big picture puzzle, and then a part of you, a piece of you, is removed. Or you can say it's kind of locked in. So the mind, and from that perspective, locks that memory up to protect you, right? Because maybe you weren't able to deal with it properly, whatever it is you acted in that moment. And so what happens is, that's why there's the aspects of you in this lifetime where you can't move forward, or you are unable to let go of an emotion, let go of what's happened to you. You keep repeating it over and over again, or now it's being acted out in some sort of way, right? Either it's physical, like symptoms, or your actions and thoughts and behaviors. So at that time, working with her, my goal was to tone up, lose a little bit more weight. Uh, and then also, I was actually experiencing from a physical perspective. I had not had my cycle, my menstrual cycle, for 2 years after getting off the birth control, which prior to that, I've never done it before, but I just didn't have my cycle anymore. And so we were working on things. And so now it's just like, let's go dive into what's going on. What is the mind holding? What is the spirit body holding, right? And at first, admittedly, I was like nervous. I was scared, especially because a lot of the fear that I had around like diving into like past life work was like anybody else. It's like, I don't want to relive that event. What if I find out things about myself that that is not socially acceptable? Someone's not going to accept me. She's not going to like, accept me, etc. These are like the most basic things that and the human being, anybody wants, is to feel loved and accepted, right? So what if like I find out something that happened to me when I was a child, and now, to bring that back up and relive it, was scary. And then also from, it's also like, I also had like imprinting from a spiritual perspective. Like when you dive deeper into the spiritual realms, now she didn't really work in the spiritual realm, but that's my lens of through what I work with. It's like, oh, I'm, what entities or beings am I opening myself up to, right? And so I had the sphere to go in and like go through that. And so when we went through the journey, and what you can equate it kind of is like someone's guiding you through a deep meditation journey, meditation guidance, right? And when we went in, we went through the, memories and the aspects of the self that my mind was holding, my locked in away. And we actually went back to moments in my life where I and I didn't even know this, where I was like left as a baby in like alone a lot. Like I would cry, like I wanted to be helped, and I could feel it, I could see it. And always when I work with my clients, I say it's like when it comes for you, it looks like, just view it as a movie. That's what helps you to feel like safe in the experience, is that you're seeing a movie, you're looking at pictures coming through. So that's what helps distinct you from being attached to what you're seeing, because you're not actually reliving the experience, you're just reviewing it. We're reviewing a movie together, right? And so I could feel myself like I was in the crib, like I was crying, but no one wanted to take care of me. No one wanted to hold me, and like just feeling alone, right? Feeling not loved. And we went back also where I was in the womb, and I could hear how like she didn't want me, I was unwanted, like she would say that. Or and I'll even note this down, just like, trigger warning, right? Like doing things to herself or something. That's what I heard, that she did not want me. I wasn't, I was not planned, right? It was a surprise. And then going like even further, taken back even further into like the womb, and in that space is just like each and every single part. I was, and this kind of works also with when you go into the Akashic records too, right? You see aspects, and it could be in this lifetime, like in this example, my first journey, or in lifetimes before, where you will see the scene, is what I call it, or the images, the expression, the emotions, the feelings. You'll see it, but in it, you're recollecting the lesson of what the first, or what the lesson is, or what your mind, in this example, like this is the swords that you began to define as your reality, right? That I was unlovable, that I was not wanted. And in that sense, that's like, you begin to understand now, because you remember that I am now this, person who's an adult on a physical level. I am no longer that, child or baby, infant, right? That experienced that. You get to see it through a different lens. And that's where the healing begins to come. And one of the most beautiful things that she had led me through, ended up coming, to an understanding. I was like, okay, maybe she wasn't ready to be a mother, right? Maybe she experienced moments in her life where she wasn't loved. That's what she knew. So that's what she gave, right? You can only do and share as far as you've been taught, right? Or as far as your consciousness is aware of. And, that gave me some understanding, some clarity. And that gave me some understanding in terms of knowing about a little bit about how, like, I was showing up in the world in that moment in my lifetime back then, because of certain stories that, or things that were being carried with me. And one of the things that also, just like the healing also, was where, and I love when you go through a journey experience, and it just depends on whomever is leading it, but I always work through the etheric and spiritual realms. So you are carried into a deeper state where you're not feeling your physical body, but when carried at such a higher vibration, you will connect to the divine source, all that is. And I remember like having that feeling, and also because the reassurance and the words that were shared that in that moment, that God created me, and it's kind of like in the Bible. When I think about it now, it's also like, what you did to harm me, like, couldn't harm me, right? Couldn't slow me down, right? What you intended for me didn't go through. And even to this day, even as I say, it kind of like touches there. And like, God wanted me in this lifetime, regardless of like what it is I needed to go through, for God wanted me. And when he wants you, and he has an intention for you, a purpose for you, he'll see it through. Nobody can slow that plane down. Nobody can put you down. Nobody can stuff you away, right? And so that was like, just like the knowingness of the beginning of the feeling of like, oh, like I am loved. I don't need somebody else to tell me that. I don't need to look a certain way for someone to validate me or to give me love. Like, and that's where I noticed ever since like then, and then moving forward, is like my whole life is like to learn to love myself, to learn to reparent myself, to learn to give myself the things that I was not given, right? And it's not like I didn't have a loving, I have a loving father. My dad is very loving, like he loved us. But it's also, again, like you need both. You need the paternal figure and the maternal figure, the feminine, the masculine, for union and for that wholeness, right? But that was my first journey. And And then I've had another journey before too. And now my other journey was more to explore my soul's gifts, what hear my spirit guides. That actually, that second journey. And with each journey that you go through, by the way, you actually, not only do you begin to heal things and work on things and clear up things energetically from a mental, emotional, but etheric and spiritual perspective, but each time you clear things up and you call pieces, that goes back to the puzzle I was saying, the pieces of the puzzle locked away, and you put it back into you and integrate it into yourself. That's when your capacity to hold a higher level of consciousness, or your energy higher, even stronger, begins to expand. And so my second journey, I met with a shaman, and we connected to explore. I was now working not just at a physical level, my physical health. I started being guided to work on an energetic. I started being intuitively led to learn about chakras, energy work. When I said that I used to work with clients, and it was like all we did was physical work, like in terms of what you ate, the physical life, and things that you can do here in the senses, but the divine, my higher self, God, started leading me from like mental work, emotional work, spirit energetics. And so we went from subconscious programming, things that your mind holds, and then energy. And the biggest chakras that I needed to work on was like, okay, my third chakra, expression. Like, and if you've been with me, like if you know me, like in the, out of the virtual space, I was very like shy. And I am quiet, but like I couldn't speak. Like I would tremble, like my voice would like shiver. Like I feel as if I want to cry. Like I had gotten my 200 hour yoga teacher training like in 2018, 4 years ago. And even back then, like I didn't go into intention wanting to teach, because I was like, how? I can't even speak in front of a group of people. I almost feel like I'm crying, right? And then even then, it took like a while for me as I worked on my energy, my chakras, through journeys on my own, through crystal work, energy Reiki work that I didn't know I was doing, but I was doing it. That my capacity to hold that space and then work on my energy centers and rebalance and expand that energy to keep flowing within me, and so I don't give it out. And this is something that I'm teaching about with other modern day priestesses and medicine women in my circles, right? That when you have your own energy and you hold that space and you anchor it, it's within you, right? It's not being leaked, it's not being blocked. Like you're your natural healer. You're your own medicine woman, doctor. And I always like knew I had to work on my sacral chakra, like how I identify with myself, how I see myself, and my creativity and passion. So these were the lessons that I've been carried through. And in that second journey, I got to see about like 2 or 3 different lifetimes I've had. The first one, oh yes, I was someone who was in solitude a lot. And I remember being out in the field, and even now I can recall it. And in this lifetime, I was of like, I would say like European descent. But I just remember being in solitude, like, why am I in solitude? Why do I feel, like just a sense of being alone? Like I had to be locked in. Then to get more like information and go through another lifetime. And I ended up seeing, so this is what actually kind of helped to confirm my path as a shamanic high priestess. And the shamanic path was where in this lifetime, I was part of a tribe. And honestly, I don't remember if I was like a male or female. I think I was like a male, but I had like given up the tribe. I had revealed some information that risked the lives of many people. And I remember being locked up. And I wasn't allowed to go anywhere, and the place was dark. And it was too like foreigners, right? And so all I could see was like windows with light, and then just being locked in, and like having this feeling of like, it's my fault, right? It is, you know, I risked them. If I could do it again, right? If I could do this all over, I wouldn't, right? And so this kind of goes back to like the things about you, whether in this lifetime or prior, and whatever realm, reality, right? Realm. The things that you harbor, you carry, and like, and the energy that stays in stagnant, and then it starts impacting you, right? And how can I be a leader if I betrayed them at some point in my life, right? And then that's where I was carried through another storyline, lifetime, where it was one where I was with a tribe, and there was a really ancient medicine woman there. She was like some sort of like, I don't want to say relative, but ancestor of mine, medicine woman. And she was speaking in like tongues. And so she began to heal me where I didn't understand what she was saying, but I could feel it, right? And just that began the healing of my throat chakra. And little by little, more and more. Like I started to work more on my throat chakra. I started to, practice. I was being led to like, how do I practice and anchor that like healing in this lifetime? Because you can go through the journey, you can go through these different realms, right? But you have to anchor the lessons. You have to anchor, do some sort of form of action. That's what we do in ritual and ceremony. We have to do some sort of action in order to anchor that energy, to like show the healing, the closing of the circles, right? So to speak, in this lifetime now. Or we're not, it's like a declaration, like, or I'm still gonna let those story play line. Like, what is my action now that I'm declaring that I can speak, I can share my voice, that I am a leader, right? I forgive myself, right? And I've integrated and these parts of myself that were unhealed and needed to come back to me, right? And the universe, and that's where the extra healing comes in, and guidance. The universe will show you, your higher self, your spirit guides and allies will show you what actions to take in declaration. And mine was just to practice on my Instagram. Like, I was not talking like I am now. Like, it took time, and I had relationships and friends that would inspire me, encourage me along the way. And then eventually that practice online, because that kind of also happened within like the shutdown. And when things started being lifted, I got to go and teach in person, and being able to hold the space for a room of people and then speak, and then that's how you see that I began to more and more embody the codes that I've already carried while shedding, while healing, removing the layers that were blocking my energy. Ooh, and goes back to obstacles. Check out just a reflection that we just did about the new moon intention ceremony we held. We talked about obstacles and like, what is the obstacles that we're clearing? Again, they don't have to be physical, they can be metaphysical, emotional, spiritual. And yeah, I just remember from that second journey and onward, it was like, I was declaring that I wanted to, and this is the first time I'm saying this, I wanted to not like repent, but there are other souls that I'm meant to be working with in sisterhood and familyhood. Your star sisters, your star family. And I'm here to work with them to build something bigger, to to bring in and anchor in that essence and vibe and energy here in this lifetime now, right? Because karmically speaking, sometimes, especially like through unhealed versions of ourselves, right, and energies that are blocked or not integrated, you might go into, some people will say, into another lifetime with the things that you haven't yet completed, right? Or you are in this lifetime now going through the lessons and the healing that your ancestors needed. And so by you doing the work now, that goes back and it's carried out into those lifetimes then and into future timelines, right? Timelines then and timelines further down the line, you know? And so that's how my part one and my part two, like experiences with my journeys, like how the healing of shamanic journey actually impacts you, whether on a great level, whether it's a physical thing that you're working on with its habits and sort of mindset, subconscious thing, programming you're carrying, or it's mental, emotional, you know. And also, we also believe that as a healer, your own healer, like if you're presenting physical symptoms, it's most likely going to be due to, if you've already done the work at a physical level, like looked at your diet, sleep, lifestyle habits, and social health as well, then it's another layer where you go through the spiritual energetics work of it, and we begin to see what is causing this, right? Symptoms coming up for you. And so I hope that you got some limelight. And yes, what I meant to say, it was like, so that's what started my whole like journey of me accepting myself as a shamanic healer, high priestess. And how that's looking like, even now, like I don't really, like they always say, like you don't really know what that image and fullness of the is going to look like from where you stand, but further down the road you'll see like the lessons of what you're going through, what you're learning, your passions. It's all to bring in the aspects of yourself here to integrate in this lifetime, right? And so I always like to say that the work that I do is, as a high priestess, shamanic medicine woman, intuitively led, God spirit led, I help those integrate your spiritual life self with your life in this lifetime now, so that you can create, you can do the things that you've been called to do, to live. And it's a scary thing. There are some people who may not like experience or be bold enough to follow their dreams, to follow their intuition, their spirit-led calling, right? And that's where like we're meant to be the fullness of who we are and create and build the legacies and the empires that we're here to bring forth. And knowing that it doesn't have to be from A to Z jump through. It could be an A to B, A to C, A to D, taking steps, right? Because the journey is like, I wouldn't have thought about me being up in a room, you know, leading space for people a long time ago. Like I would never have thought that, right? Or even now, sharing my own spiritual truths, my own spiritual experience with people to see, to hear about, so that they could see what's available for them too. When you go beyond just the physical, conventional way of life. And so, ways to connect with me. Definitely would appreciate it if you like this, share this, maybe comment down below if you've ever had a journey or you're interested in one. My IG is divine.cosmic.empress. My email is divinecosmicjourney@gmail.com. And at least for now, thanks for my new year, since we will be entering that in 2023, January, in a couple days. I'll still be holding new moon and full moon work for now. We'll see how things go. Gatherings for the community virtually, where we gather together. We set the intentions, we connect to our spirit guides or higher selves, and we work with the energies present in that season, where they're in whatever sign we're in, which in this case will be doing the full moon in January. And also offer my shamanic, spiritual, holistic services for you. And I say holistic because I was, classically trained to be a clinical nutritionist. So we look at a holistic part, whether, again, as I said, the journeys can help you at a physical level, emotional, spiritual, energetics. And so depending where you're at, what you're experiencing, what it is that you're looking for, we'll bring the tools and work with you exactly where you are so we can help move you forward in your life and goals. And you can always check out my website at divinecosmicjourney.com. And thank you so much for listening. Sat Nam.